or two other commissioners. Normally I don't feel bad about it at all. This is like, I was saying yesterday also, if I fall down, the first thing, normal tendency for a human being is to look around, anybody saw us. If anybody saw us, we feel ashamed about it. So the fact that two other commissioners were listening was what hurt me. Now why should I get scolded in others' presence? I will go to one CIT appeal. Let him shout anything, I will listen and walk out. I may have a better chance of winning. After dispute resolution panel, if both parties will appeal, then what resolution will happen? You can as well say we are withdrawing the dispute resolution panel because it is not serving the purpose. Instead of that, you say I must meet three people instead of one. For what? I cannot convince one man itself. That is what I have faith in. Why will I go and try to convince three men? And after that, two more in the tribunal. And thereafter, two more at the High Court. How will this be? What is the fun of having the dispute resolution panel is something that we have no answers to. Of course, they are also making very many more amendments where that 5% margin of error which they were providing for TP transactions, they are bringing it down to 3% and saying it is not a flat deduction, etc. Tax audit limits are being increased from 60 lakhs to 1 crore, 15 lakhs to 25 lakhs for professionals, but I think even if they abolish tax audit, anyway nobody is bothered about it. Officers don't give a damn for it. Assessees don't care. Only chartered accountants are bothered about it. Because what is sacrosanct duty every year that we carry out. Otherwise the assessee doesn't want, because we are exposing him through it, that is what he feels. And the department anyway does its own work, or irrespective of what is said in tax audit report. Even if that is abolished, why I said that was, there is enough and more confusion and work that can arise out of this finance bill that will take care of our revenues, which will go as a result of the tax audit. Because they have made some small amendments here and there, and then they have got a very interesting amendment in capital gain, or a few of them I should say. One in capital gain, they are bringing a new section for deduction. This, the finance minister said, is to promote small and medium enterprises. The provision says that you must sell a residential property, within bracket land or building. That means you must sell a residential land or a residential building. And then you must invest it in the shares of a company in which you must hold at least more than 50%. That company in turn must invest in plant and machinery, or in specified banks it must keep the money and invest it in plant and machinery. Which plant and machinery should not be second-hand machinery, should not be office equipment, should not be air conditioner, should not be computer, should not be 100% depreciable plant and machinery. And then you are entitled to an exemption under 54 GB. And he was all the shares for free. Who will sell his house and do business? Anybody in this chamber? He will pledge his house and do business, not sell his house and do business. I will not. Why? This is only to say we are supporting small and medium industry. Probably it's just one of those gimmicks. You have an amendment made in 50D, which says if you cannot determine full value of consideration, the fair market value will be deemed as full value of consideration. There are so many deeming fictions, and now deeming fictions are defined. Anyway, this is probably to tackle a couple of Mumbai tribunal decisions where assessees have been saying you cannot determine full value of consideration. That could be the basis. Correspondingly, there are some small amendments. 56, they have a beautiful amendment where they say if a closely held company issues shares at a premium, the entire amount received should be deemed as income. Unless you satisfy the assessing officer that the company has intrinsic value of assets which is worth for the premium. I think the assessing officer can as well do the business. Look at the other amendments. There is an amendment which is being brought in where the finance minister said general anti-avoidance rules. If we read the general anti-avoidance rules, we will know why we should not do business in India. The general anti-avoidance rule will operate like this. If at the time of your assessment the assessing officer thinks that you have entered into an what they call impermissible avoidance arrangement or agreement, then he will refer the matter to the assessing officer, to the CIT. The CIT in turn will issue you a show cause notice, and you in turn are supposed to appear before him and explain to him why it is not an impermissible avoidance agreement. And if he is satisfied, he will drop it. If he is not satisfied, he will refer it to a panel to be constituted. The panel will comprise of 3 people not below the rank of commissioner. That panel will decide how you should have entered into the arrangement. This is again probably only to tackle Vodafone. How many ways do you want to hit Vodafone? And if you are going to tell me how I should enter into agreements, they say it should, if the agreement lacks commercial substance. In fact, in transfer pricing, they suddenly seem to have gone very peculiar, the languages. The provisions relating to international transaction would say, international transaction means a transaction between 2 associated enterprises, at least one of whom is a non-resident, where it has an effect on the profits, assets, etc. of the enterprise. One of the amendments in expanding the scope of transfer pricing international transactions, they now say it will include all kinds of intangibles, which I always thought was included. And now they are also saying whether or not it has an effect on the profit, whether or not it has an effect on the assets, present or future. Why will a businessman do a transaction which will have an effect on nothing? Now I will not even ask why. How will he do? Then that is not a business transaction at all. How will anybody do a transaction which has got an effect on nothing at all? It will affect him some way or the other. How can you pay something which will not affect your assets, sir? How can you receive something which will not affect your assets or your income or anything? It will some way affect, isn't it? The language, they seem to be hell-bent on the kill. They just don't care for the repercussions of what they are doing. I told you this is the worst ever budget for industry in terms of the proposals in the direct tax bill. I do not know what Mr. Vaidishan is going to tell and what my other friend is going to tell on the indirect tax proposal, but this is the worst ever that anybody could have imagined in terms of the direct tax proposal. I will not speak much on the GAR because the GAR is a subject for a day by itself. Minimum alternate tax is applicable only to companies. There seems to be a big confusion. Everybody is saying minimum alternate tax is extended to everybody. It is no. Alternate minimum tax is applicable to others. There are 2 different languages. Minimum alternate tax for companies, alternate minimum tax for all others. Individual, HUF, firm, everybody, alternate minimum tax is applicable. For I don't know whether I should use this language, but still I will. For qualification for entry, you can be anybody. You must have an income exceeding 20 lakh. Right? You must have an income exceeding 20 lakh and you must have claimed either a 10 AA or a deduction under Chapter 6A C, that is deduction in respect of incomes like ATIA or IB or IC or whatever. If you have done so, then you are under the alternate minimum. So let's be clear, there is a confusion that minimum alternate tax is expanded to everybody. No. The same 18.5% is alternate minimum tax only. It is not minimum alternate tax. So that is what has been brought in for others. So I really don't know what to say. 20 lakhs is a pittance of an amount. And to say everybody should come under it, as well say I won't give you any deduction or exemption. The worst part is now I don't want to get into explaining ATIA or anything. In ATIA, if you have a loss, even though it is set off, you must notionally carry it forward and set it off. There are provisions for that. And then you have on top of it a minimum alternate minimum tax that you will pay or a minimum alternate tax that you will pay. Then what is the point in all these deductions? Effectively, there seems to be nothing that will happen as a result of all this. Of course, they are also saying revaluation reserves which are routed directly into balance sheet. Revaluation reserves which are directly routed through balance sheets will also have to suffer the minimum alternate tax. That is now not possible under the provisions of 115 JP. So MAT will apply, MAT or AMT will apply to everybody. They are also proposing, one of the proposals, to curb the black money which is outside of India and to bring it to taxes, to expand the scope of reopening for 16 years. 16 years technically can be backward also. That is, from now you can work back 16 assessment years and still reopen for the last 16 years. So this is just to say that I can sleep for longer if I so wish to. I'm not in a hurry to do anything. That's probably all that will happen as a result of this. That is another aspect. And a few years back we will recall that they brought down the time limit for completion of all assessments to December, reducing it by 3 months. Now they have gone back to the old thing. They have added back the 3 months and made it March. I am happy for 2 reasons. I would rather sweat, sir. It's... Oh. Okay, then it's fine.
Now with you, we also have to
Okay, I didn't realize that. You could see from there, I could not see from here. What is the difference? You put it in such a corner. Anyway, see, the provisions are now going back to 24 months. 2 reasons why I am happy. One, if December they finish the assessment, the biggest problem is in January and February they literally kill us, saying pay them. In fact, I have 2 very interesting cases where they have asked, how they have asked me to pay. One case on Friday, a writ was taken up for hearing. The High Court granted stay subject to payment of 40 lakhs within 4 weeks and subject to disposal, and they has directed the Commissioner of Appeal to dispose of the appeal within 4 months. Promptly on Friday afternoon itself, this was informed to the assessing officer. Friday evening is attached to my bank account. After the High Court direction. I really would not know why or how somebody would even dare do this, but then they have become so obsessed probably. And second,